I've basically gone from being a shopaholic to just freaking average. But we all gotta start somewhere. 5 things for 12 months, 60 items. You love dresses, buy yourself some dresses and less tops. 9 of my total items were influenced by people on Instagram. We'll work on that next year. What? On the YouTube. My total spend for the year was, hello, welcome back to my channel. I am pretty excited. I've been waiting to film this video about my sort of fashion report card, my fashion stats of 2019, my goal of year of 5 finds, to shop less, shop better. Did I actually do that? I have been keeping everything basically that I've been buying in the notes of my phone. I will show you that. But I've also, towards the end of the year, I sort of entered everything into a spreadsheet, which I did mainly for this video to sort of see, what was conscious purchases, what were the total spend for each month, the whole year, what was the average. But if you are looking at possibly shopping better or keeping a shopping journal or log of some sort, I highly recommend keeping your purchases either in the notes of your phone, maybe in a notebook or something. It's been really handy for me to look back and keep track of my purchases, not only for the month for this exact project, which it's been very helpful for, but like right now, we're in winter right now, and it's been nice for me to look back in my phone and say, oh, what did I buy in January, February when it was cold? And those things are still sort of new to me. I haven't worn those things since spring and summer, so I looked back in January and February and was like, oh, I have this navy H&M sweater that I forgot about, quite honestly. I have my Aritzia suit that I bought that I really have loved the blazer of it, but I need to start wearing those pants. So it's nice to be able to look back and sort of check in with yourself, see what maybe you're not wearing a lot of, and also just keep yourself accountable for how many things you've been purchasing, which I have found to be very helpful. Okay, so my year of 5 finds was obviously 5 things a month, which adds up to 60 pieces for the total year. Now, when I did my rules for the year, I allowed myself to have 5 bonus things if I was on vacation or if I found something. Honestly, at the beginning of the year, I just thought that buying 5 things a month was gonna be so hard, which is comical because now I've settled into a place where that feels just completely perfect. So I did allow myself 5 bonuses, of which I did use 3 of those. But then last month for November, I only bought 2 things instead of 5. So we're right back at 60. So I could have potentially had 65 finds, but I only had 60. So that feels nice that I settled right into that perfect round number. Okay, so we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of my spending. What was fast fashion? What was conscious? What were all those things? But I was like, well, what was my shopping before this? Because I really didn't have anything that I had physically tracked in this same manner to look back on. But I do have 2017 and 2018 haul videos on my YouTube channel, and I sort of dug into those. Now, I will say that in 2017, I started my channel in April, and I had a haul video about every other month. And in 2018, I'd sort of realized, like 2017, quite honestly, with my first year on YouTube, was where I really, it was projected back at me through my videos. Wow, I shop a lot. And that was really what I learned from 2017. And so for 2018, I think I was very conscious of, for one, that was the year that I did my year of simple, which kind of came from seeing 2017 play out on YouTube. So I was much more mindful about not necessarily shopping less or shopping better. While I still wanted to shop and I still was shopping, I felt like it was almost garish to show as much as I did in 2017, to be honest. So I was more picky or mindful of the things that I showed, but I don't think that I necessarily shopped less. So the point of this is, to give myself a good comparison, I went through all of my haul videos for 2017 and listed out every single thing that I shared on my channel in 2017. In 2018, I didn't show as much, and so I didn't even go through that because I just knew it wouldn't be a really fair comparison because a lot of stuff was left out. So 2017, I have a list here of everything that I bought. And by the way, this is only what I shared on my channel. And I started my channel in April. So that right there was 4 months unaccounted for. And also I didn't share every single thing, because if I look back on my Instagram feed, because I have everything listed that I talked about on my channel, I went through my Instagram feed and I was like, oh, well, I didn't mention that Athleta bathing suit. I didn't mention those workout pants. I didn't mention that mango dress. I never hauled on my channel like a specific Ann Taylor top that I bought. And so this number that I'm going to be comparing against for 2017 versus 2018, I know is not even correct. And the numbers are still staggering to me. So I know that when I say I purchased 77 things in 2017, those are only the things that I shared on my YouTube channel. So when I say that I'm comparing this against 77 items, it's probably closer to 100, if not more. So let's just like realize that for first and foremost, it's closer to 100, not 77, but I want to be fair and just say like, this is what I actually accounted for on I was going to say on TV, on the YouTube, and that's what I'm going to be comparing this against. So is it too late at this point in the video to say this is a judgment-free zone? I'm going to tell you what I spent per month. I'm going to tell you what I spent overall, and just know that everyone's resources and what one person's normal is not the next person's normal, and that's fine. It's all fine. It is what it is. I'm just sharing with you where I'm at. I actually don't have a total price or cost for 2017 because that would have been a major guesstimate and probably wildly wrong. So I don't have a number there. So from a year of 5Finds, like I said, I had 60 items total that I purchased. My total spend for the year was $3,279.19. Okay, this is future me coming in to make a little bit of a correction / edit here. And yes, I'm wearing my coat. I just went to lunch, and on my way home, I was thinking about this. And as I'm trying to be as transparent as I can about all the things that I brought into my wardrobe, I realized that I missed the total gifted dollar value in my total cost. And so I wanted to make sure that I was open about how many gifted things I received. So I did receive 5 gifts over the course of the year from brands or designers or independent artists. That number was actually included in the 60. So those 5 items are included in the 60 total number that I have for the year. But I wanted to add the actual value of those items in. And so of the 5 things that I was gifted, a few of the things aren't around anymore, aren't available. And so to the best of my knowledge, those 5 total things equal $383. So if I add that number to the total that I personally spent this year, that brings the total value of all the items that I brought into my own wardrobe this year up to $3,662.19. That breaks down to an average per month of $273. Now, the one thing that I thought was sort of funny was my least expensive month was January, my first month. I spent a total of $126. And that's because 2 of those items were thrifted. I literally bought a belt for 99 cents that I never even wore. So that will be one of my least favorite things. Spoiler alert. But then my most expensive month was the very next month in February. So it's funny that my least and my most expensive were back to back. I spent $483, and that was like my most expensive by quite a bit. And the reason for that is because when we were vacationing in Vancouver, I bought a suit from Aritzia, and it was a pretty expensive suit, like the 2 pieces separately. And well, when I say expensive, I mean it was like a healthy chunk of that for the month, but it was something that was on my wish list that I had been hunting for. It's a blazer that has become one of my favorite things, and it also is nice that I bought it in Vancouver when I was on vacation, so it has like a nice memory associated along with it, and it sort of feels like a souvenir in a way. And so I really do like that piece, and I don't regret that purchase at all. I'm very happy that I ended up getting that. So that is sort of my average for the month was $273. Now, after looking at that, I wanted to see what is the average that someone spends a month anyways? Like, where even do I fall in all of this? And the interesting thing that I learned recently is that the average person purchases 68 new garments a year. And I found that interesting because let's say right now, spoiler alert, I did so well this year. I'm very proud of myself. But also, let's be very clear, I've basically gone from being a shopaholic to just freaking average. So it's not like I've made a huge leaps and bounds that oh my gosh, I now bought, 30 things this year. We'll work on that next year. But I've just worked so hard to be normal. So let's just get that out on the table. I realize that. I realize the irony of that, but we all got to start somewhere. And I've pumped the brakes, and I'm now pretty much an average shopper. Now, if I look into what is the average that a person spends on clothing a year, I found a couple different stats for that. And I'm going to refer to my phone right now. This Financial Best website that I found online says that the average person spends around $161 a month on clothes. Remember, I spent an average of $273. Now, I think that average is interesting because it includes both men and women. So I find that interesting that that number includes men, and therefore I don't think it's that useful. But I was able to go on prisonersofclass.com, and find that the average woman will spend between $150 to $400 a month on clothing, which equates to approximately $1,800 to $4,800 a year on clothing. And I mean, I fall right into the mid spectrum of that. I also found another website that said it was a financial website of how you should budget yourself. And it said that you should be budgeting 5% of your income on clothing. And of course, that is going to vary from person to person based on income. That's also going to vary from person to person based on how many people live in your home. And if I look at 5% of our income, which I'm not going to share with you, I am well below what I should be spending, which I always think those stats are funny because with my husband being a financial planner, his thing is always live below your means. When you go get approved for a house and they're like, you can spend $500,000 on a house. And it's well, that doesn't mean that you should. That's just that's how much they're letting you. So if I look at 5% of our income, I'm never going to spend that on clothing. But just if that's something that you're looking at, I found that interesting that was, out there as a percentage, as a suggestion. Okay, so that's sort of my year-end total number and my averages. What I thought was really interesting was breaking down the fast fashion versus conscious fashion versus, small business, secondhand, female owned, things that were on my wish list versus impulse purchases. And then also I thought what might be interesting to think of what was influenced by Instagram. So I broke that down for this year, tried to compare it as best as I could to 2019, and that's what I'm going to share with you right now. So this year, 29 of my 60 items were fast fashion. So that is about half of the purchases that I made were fast fashion. Now, if I compare that to 2017, 76 items were fast fashion. Remember, I bought 77. So only one of my items was a conscious ethical brand, which again, that wasn't my goal. That wasn't even on my radar in 2017. And if you're wondering what it was my favorite cutout Oxfords from Fortress of Inca that I love so much. So I thought that was wild to see that 99.8% of my purchases were fast fashion 2 years ago. And this year it's been 48% of my purchases. So loved seeing that progress. So the next category is brands I shopped that were conscious, ethical, sustainable, all of that. And there was a little bit of gray area in what is considered an ethical brand because in some senses, I tend to think that small businesses, depending on the small business, but when it's a small business that is someone who is the maker themselves and they are either making jewelry or I know I bought from a bathing suit maker that makes their own bathing suits, those are conscious and ethical by trade because it's such a small business that they're not making massive amounts of garments. They're literally making things almost on demand or in small batches, which therefore makes them ethical and conscious. So what's included in conscious was sort of, there was some gray area. So some small businesses I included in that, some I didn't. It just sort of depended on my knowledge or interpretation of that business. But this year, out of the 60 items that I purchased, 12 of those I considered conscious, and that is 20% of what I bought was considered conscious or ethical. I would certainly love for that number to increase. I wish it were higher. I wish it were close to 40 to 50, but again, we're at a starting place, and now I know what I want to focus on a little bit more next year. But if I look at 2017, it was that one pair of Oxfords, and therefore that's barely 1% of my purchases. So, I mean, going from 1% to 20, that's a massive shift, and so that's great. So the next category is small businesses. So 15 of my 60 items, so 25% of what I purchased was from a small business. Now, if I compare that to 2017, 5 of the items that I purchased that year were from a small business, which was 6% of my total purchases. So again, going from 6% to 25%, I think that's a nice improvement. Still room to grow there. Then the next category is female-owned businesses. And again, 15 of my 60 items were female-owned. I think, quite honestly, that goes hand in hand. The small businesses that I happened to purchase were also female-owned. So I think that's why that number is exactly the same, which again was 25% of my purchases for the year that happened to be both small business and female owned. Now in 2017, I bought 3 total items that were female owned, which was 4%. So again, good improvement there. I would like to do even better. Now the next thing is secondhand. So this year, I bought 5 total items that were secondhand, which were 8% of my total items. And in 2017, I bought 0. So while 8% is not a lot, it's also not nothing because I increased by 8%. And I'm pretty happy about that. So that was good. The next thing that I looked at, which I did not have stats for 2017, but just that I thought would be interesting to see, was wish list. So how many things were actually on my wish list that I keep in the notes of my phone versus how many things were impulse. I just sort of walked into a store and found. And 16 of my total items were on my wish list. So things that I checked off, like a denim jacket, a Dudley Stevens fleece that I had been wanting, a pair of winter boots that I recently purchased. Those types of things, I was specifically seeking out these items. So that was a quarter of my total things that I bought for the year were on a wish list. I mean, I feel like that's probably good compared to 2017. I mean, probably 100% was impulse. I was not keeping a wish list at the time. I think I was just willy-nilly going to the stores and just like letting the stores tell me what I should buy. And so I think that's definitely an improvement, and I would like for that number to be even higher next year. Spoiler alert, we're going to repeat this in 2020 and see how the numbers go from there. And so then the final thing that I put on, which I thought was kind of interesting just because I was personally curious, was what was influenced by Instagram. There are so many things in my wardrobe that I can see and say, oh, I bought this because Carla Reed talked about it, or Maddie Gutierrez loves this dress, that's why I bought this, or Happy Go Curly, Ailsa, she told me I should get this shirt, Great Lakes, the shirt from J. Crew that I purchased earlier this year. So I can like track back some of my purchases to certain people, which is funny. And so 9 of my total items were influenced by people on Instagram, which is 15% of my purchases, which, I mean, that shows how much we can be influenced. And I would venture to say that in years past, that number was probably even bigger, because this year, like, I'm being more mindful, and I wasn't just buying what people like suggested all the time. I was actually like going back to my closet and saying, do I need this thing? And also I can't buy this thing because I don't have that many finds this month. So I just thought that that was kind of interesting. The next thing that I thought was interesting to compare against was what were the main stores that I bought. Because I know I've said many times throughout this year that I'm shopping a lot less Target and I'm shopping a lot less Old Navy. I can feel it that I'm shopping at less. And so I wanted to go in and see like how much less. So when I look at the numbers, the main stores that I shopped in 2017, 2 years ago, were Zara. I bought 13 pieces from Zara. This year I only bought 2 things from Zara, so that is a massive improvement. The next most like frequented store that I shopped was Anthropology. No surprise there that those are my 2 like I could have told you that those would have been the two things, Zara and Anthro. 2017, I bought 12 total items from Anthropology. This year, I only bought 4. Target's another big one. 2 years ago, 11 of my purchases came from Target. This year, only 2 were. And I can tell you right now, they were 2 skirts. They were 2 skirts that were 100% polyester. So that will change next year. Sadly, there's a lot of polyester at Target. But I did like those skirts. I do wear those skirts. But yeah, it's interesting like that I can see the number and be like, oh, I know exactly what those 2 things are because I just kept better track of my purchases. So the next one was H&M. I bought 8 total things 2 years ago from H&M. This year I bought 4 things from H&M. So cut that number in half. Not amazing, but good. In 2017, I bought 7 total things from Old Navy. Now, remember with all these numbers, I sort of need to like remember again. This is only what I shared on YouTube. I know for a fact that I bought at least 7 of those tank tops that I love so much, the slim fit tank tops, which I still love and I will buy again when I bought one this year. So when I see that number, I feel like that's only like individual items that I shared, but one of those items was like 7 of one tank top. So that's probably closer to 14 in real life. But I have 7 listed, and this year I bought 3 things from Old Navy, one of which was a denim jacket, which was on my wish list. Another Old Navy tank top, which I love and I fully am happy with. And the other thing was that like lion tiger hooded sweatshirt that I love. So that's good. The next thing was Mango. 2017, I bought 2 things from Mango, which I actually know that that's not correct because there was a couple of dresses that I had purchased that I didn't include. So that number is probably closer to 4, but we'll say 2. This year, I bought 1 thing from Mango, which is the dress I'm wearing right now and I love and was a wish list item. I was looking for a fall moody floral dress and this fit the bill perfectly. So Topshop, I actually did not shop at Topshop this year, but 2 years ago I bought 2 things from Topshop. And then the other things that there was a sprinkling of for 2017 was ASOS, Athleta, J. Crew, and Nordstrom. So again, the main stores that I shopped at in order for 2017 were Zara, Anthropology, Target, H&M, Old Navy, Mango, and Topshop. This year, the main stores that I shopped at were J. Crew, Anthropology, H&M, Old Navy, Everlane, Amore Vert, Madewell, Target, Zara, Mango, and then there's a lot of one-offs because a lot of the one-offs are small businesses, female-owned businesses, local businesses, and conscious brands where I bought one piece but not a ton. So that's why you're still seeing a lot of fast fashion brands within the main stores. But that's the reason why for that, because there's a lot of just one-offs down in the fray, I guess. But I'll go into what that was. So for J. Crew, I bought 5 items, which is interesting because in 2017 I didn't buy a lot from J. Crew. But I think that speaks to J. Crew is more of a mid-price point, and so there are things that are like a nice moderate price point, but that's also directly influenced from Instagram, I think, because a lot of those purchases, if not all, were things that were recommended on Instagram, which is just funny, but that's just the truth. Anthropology, I bought 4 things, H&M 4, Old Navy 3, Everlane 2, Amore Vert 2, Madewell 2, Target 2, Zara 2, Mango 1, and then all those little things that were one-offs. So those are the main comparisons of the year, which I find to be really interesting. But another thing that I kept note of, which I just kind of thought was interesting, was what was the breakdown of those items in terms of like what were the items, tops, dresses, shoes, where did the bulk of my money go towards in my wardrobe. And in 2019, so this year, 17 of my total items were tops. Tops is sort of a vague term because it includes for me like t-shirts, tank tops, button-downs, cardigans, sweatshirts, sweaters, did I already say? It kind of includes a lot of things. I didn't break that number down, but in this year, 17 of my total items were tops. In 2017, 27 of my total items were tops. This year, I bought 2 pairs of jeans, where 2 years ago I bought 5 pairs of jeans. This year I bought 3 pairs of pants, so pants that were non-jeans. I'm looking at you, Anthropology pants, which are one of my favorite things. Pretty similar in 2017, I bought 4 pairs of pants, which a lot of those were wide leg pants also. Kind of similar mindset there. This year, I bought 5 skirts. 2017, I bought 5 skirts. Now, this one particularly is interesting for me. Dresses. And I'm going to go backwards this time. In 2017, I bought 2 dresses, which I find interesting because I love dresses. And at the beginning of this year, I made a point to put on my wish list and intentionally look for dresses. In the spring and summer, dresses bring me joy. I've tried to bring that joy into fall and winter as well. So I really made a conscious effort, even if it was an impulse buy, to find dresses that I love and are going to bring me joy. So in 2017, I bought 2 dresses. This year, I bought 10. So I find that to be an increase for a reason. Like, I purposely was like, you love dresses, buy yourself some dresses and less tops. So I'm really happy to see that. Okay, so this year I bought 7 pairs of shoes compared to 2 years ago, I bought 11 pairs of shoes. This year I bought 11 total accessories, which I would count as jewelry, mainly jewelry. That's not shoes, obviously, so I don't know. Oh, hats is included in that because I have a Gigi Pip hat. So I bought 11 accessories, where 2 years ago I bought 16 accessories. I expected that difference actually to be like bigger, but I guess, I mean, that's still a good change, but I felt like I bought a lot less jewelry this year. But again, that's only things that I'm like accounting for in 2017. So that 16 could have actually been like 25, and therefore now buying only 11 is a big difference. So a lot of this is kind of loosey-goosey, right? So this year I bought 2 coats, and I think one of that I'm including as a denim jacket. So a denim jacket, and then I bought that beautiful blush pink coat from Vince, which is wool long. And then I also bought 2 coats in 2017, so those are similar. And then this year I bought 1 blazer. It was that Aritzia blazer that I love so much. Compared to 2017, I bought 5 blazers. So that's the breakdown of the items and what went where. So I have on the spreadsheet, you know, every item listed out, and then next to that item is the price, and then I've highlighted you know, was it fast fashion? Was it conscious? Was it small business? Secondhand, female owned, and was it a wish list or an impulse item? And I think what's interesting is when I look at like where things were highlighted, where there's a lot of highlights, it's sort of like it was, you know, a female owned, conscious, wish list. Like more highlights is almost like it was more thoughtful, even though one of those highlights could be fast fashion. But again, I've said that I will purchase fast fashion when it's thoughtful, when it's intentional, when it's something that I've been wanting, or it is a wish list. So I'm realizing on the spreadsheet, like more highlighted things sort of mean that either they were more thoughtful, or there's just more into the item, that it was like local, small business, all those things. And when I look at, I don't know what month it was like maybe May, June, July, one of the summer months, there's hardly anything highlighted over there. And when I look at those 5 items that I bought that month, those are 5 items that did not make my most favorite things for the year. And some of those things actually made my least favorite things. Not that they were least favorite, but I just did not use or did not wear a lot. And so what that kind of says to me is that if it's not on a wish list, or it doesn't also have some other component to it, like it was a small business, or it was a female owned, or it was conscious, or there's something else to it, then maybe that's not a good purchase. And that's something that I wouldn't have thought of before. I would just, you know, normally think like, was it something that I wanted or was it not? But now I do kind of think that there is a certain value that I hold in the things that that I wear, that I like, that I know are made from, sometimes I know the person who made it. And sometimes I know that it was, you know, made out of a really good fabric, or it was made from an ethical brand, or a local business, or whatnot. And I think each piece of clothing that we own kind of tells a story in that way. And the truth is that if we bought it at Zara and it wasn't on a wish list and it was just an impulse, there's usually not much of a story to it, and therefore like the value we hold on to it is a lot less. Now sometimes, this is like the shopaholic brain of mine, like the little devil sitting on my shoulder saying, sometimes it's just that it was a good deal, or you were with somebody that you associate, like you love the thing because you're like, I bought this thing for whatever, and there's like a story to go with it. Sometimes that actually does hold true, but for the most part, I'm realizing that if it's not something that was on a wish list and doesn't also have something else to go along with it, one of those highlighted fields, that maybe it's not worth purchasing. And that's something that I'm going to consider now going into it is it just more than one thing? Like, does it not just check off wants and needs that I have? Does it also check off, conscious small business, female-owned wish list, secondhand, like one of those things? Because those things I think are really kind of important too. So anyways, that's it. Those are my fashion stats for the year. I will be working on this even more next year. I will be trying to make even better decisions next year. And I think looking at the vast differences between 2017 and 2019, it might be hard to see like a massive change. But I think at this point, any change is good. The next couple videos that you can expect to see from me are my December finds, the things that I bought in December. I'm also going to be breaking down my favorite purchases of the year that weren't fashion related, but I'm going to be sharing with you the favorite things that I purchased that were maybe beauty or lifestyle related, and my friend Carrington is joining me on that, so that will be exciting. You'll get to hear from both of us of our 5 favorite things that we've used or bought this year. And then in January, I'm going to be going into more of the mindset of shopping, how to shop less, how to shop better, how this has worked for me, and sort of my overall thoughts of my year of 5 finds, but where I hope to go to next year and what my year of will be for 2020. So I'm excited to just this is only the beginning. I sort of scratched off the surface of getting better, and now I'm really going to dig in and get better from there. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you again in another thoughtful video real soon. Bye.